Technology has the power to change the world. We live in the age of innovation, and emerging new technologies are making our lives easier and more comfortable. Our lives are highly influenced by smartphones and social networks, which will be more likely to continue. Here are some of the mind-blowing emerging technologies that will change the world. Two former U.S. electrical engineering students have discovered a cutting-edge and unconventional way to fight fires with sound, specifically bass frequencies between 30 and 60 Hz. However, when they discovered the power of the bass frequency in putting out the flame, their perseverance paid off. Since sound waves can move oxygen and fire through pressure from their vibrations, this specific frequency of sound waves works to separate the flame molecules from the surrounding oxygen, effectively starving the fire and snuffing out the flame. Fire departments across the U.S. are continuing to explore new ways to leverage technology like acoustic fire suppression and unmanned drones to find creative and effective ways to fight fires, expand search and rescue, and ultimately reduce the risk for both firefighters and the community. Li-Fi, or light fidelity, is almost similar to Wi-Fi technology, but it is one of the future wireless communication technologies. The main feature of this technology includes fully networked, bidirectional, and high-speed wireless transmission of data. Li-Fi, the use of light waves to generate a wireless internet connection, could become the main source of connectivity in buildings within the next 10 years. It's almost 10 times cheaper than Wi-Fi because the system is built with an LED light bulb and a receptor. Artificial neurons on silicon chips that behave just like the real thing have been invented by scientists, the first of its kind achievement, with enormous scope of medical devices to cure chronic diseases, such as heart failure, Alzheimer's, and other diseases of neuronal degeneration. Critically, the artificial neurons not only behave just like biological neurons, but only need 1/1000th of the power of a microprocessor, making them ideally suited for use in medical implants and other bioelectronic devices. Fake meat can provide essential nutrients and fiber and may be lower in saturated fats than meat. However, they contain many lower levels of some nutrients such as protein, vitamin B12, or zinc than a regular meat product. The biggest con to pea protein is that when it's mass-produced in a factory, it simply doesn't retain as many of the things that make the pea so healthy. Plus, these fake meat burgers use canola oil and refined coconut oil too, which is a bummer if you're trying to avoid highly refined foods. At the end of the day, some vegans eat plant-based meats simply because they taste good. Brands like Gardein, Beyond Meat, Tofurkey, Morning Star, Sweet Earth, and more are working to make these tasty meats as accessible, delicious, and flexible as their animal-based counterpart. Quantum computers could enable drastic progression in drug discovery and development, ultimately giving scientists the ability to solve problems that are currently intractable. Ultimately, these new technologies have the potential to provide computational power on a scale that traditional computers cannot ever match. Google claimed to carry out a calculation in the 200 seconds that it would take a classical supercomputer around 10,000 years. They can solve complex problems. The vision of Neuralink is to develop high ultra-bandwidth brain-machine interfaces to connect humans and computers to survive the upcoming age of AI. Elon Musk believes that our only way to stand a chance when super-intelligent AI arrives is to merge with AI, hence Neuralink's mission statement. If you can't beat them, join them. These future technology devices have made remarkable progress. In the summer of 2020, they demonstrated 3 pigs with a surgically implanted Neuralink, recording their everyday brain activities like smelling and moving. Only a year later, they showed Prager playing games with its mind. Tiny hybrid robots made using stem cells from frog embryos could one day be used to swim around human bodies to specific areas requiring medicine, or to gather microplastic in the oceans. These are novel living machines, according to Joshua Bongard, a computer scientist and robotics expert at the University of Vermont, who co-developed the millimeter-wide bots known as xenobots. They're neither a traditional robot nor a known species of animal. It's a new class of artifact, a living, programmable organism. Augmented reality is used in the real world to display 2D or 3D information such as images, numbers, and text with which the user can also interact. This new technology actually superimposes virtual reality, so the real world is augmented with digital information to provide more detail to the user about his environment. There is also the mixed reality, which is in fact a mixture of the two previous technologies. The immersive technology puts users in someone else's shoes and goes above and beyond traditional 2D depictions of war, abuse, pollution, neglect, or injustice. It allows viewers to see directly through the eyes of a real or imagined subject, and more specifically, VR can create embodied cognition. There is the other part of the story, and that is users can become isolated and dependent on the use of VR. They can become antisocial and lose basic social skills, which can then form into social anxiety and other mental health problems. The electrification of cars will solve the problem of pollution and noise of current cars. Autonomous driving will greatly reduce the number of accidents. The connectivity will allow passengers to consult information and take care during the journey. The data collected by the sensors are processed by software and processors to make the data fusion in order to observe the environment and to detect other vehicles, obstacle signs, and pavement lines. Then artificial intelligence and algorithms will decide the action to be performed on the vehicle controls. Indeed, an emerging technology that will change the world. As society aims to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic and find ways to build back better, Hyperloop technology can contribute to the reduction of direct emissions, especially carbon dioxide, while delivering a similar travel experience to air travel along certain routes. If every passenger trip between 500 kilometers and 1,500 kilometers that are currently made on flights used Hyperloop instead, emissions could be reduced yearly by 58%. Imagine the difference a 3-hour trip by train reduced to 30 minutes that would make all of our lives. The cost of producing hydrogen from renewable electricity could fall 30% by 2030 as a result of declining cost of renewables and the scaling up of hydrogen production. Hydrogen could account for up to 12% of global energy used by 2050, leading to the rise of new energy superpowers. Hydrogen can be produced from diverse domestic resources with the potential for near zero greenhouse gas emissions. Once produced, hydrogen generates electrical power in a fuel cell, emitting only water vapor and warm air. Bricks can be connected to solar panels and store renewable energy. Bricks have a porous structure that enables the storing process. These pores are filled with an acid vapor which acts as a dissolved for the iron oxide or rust from which bricks are composed. A brick wall can also be a battery. Thanks to the red pigment they contain, bricks can be turned into efficient energy storage devices. Julio D'Arcy at Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri, and his colleagues used a special conductive polymer called PDOT to make their energy-storing bricks. Meet AI-DE, the world's first ultra-realistic humanoid artist whose groundbreaking new robotic arm, enabled by artificial intelligence algorithms, was being previewed at the British Library ahead of her solo exhibit at the 2022 Venice Biennial. The role and definition of art changed over time. AI-DE's work is art because it reflects the enormous integration of technology in today's society. We recognize that art means different things to different people. We recognize ADA as creative under the criteria set by Professor Margaret Bowden, requiring works to be new, surprising, and of cultural value. If you're like me, you probably never expected this scene from Harry Potter would ever be possible without the use of CGI anyway. But this fantasy could soon become a reality, thanks to Canadian camouflage design company Hyperstealth. Up till now, armies have used camouflage prints on their uniforms and vehicles, but these techniques could soon become obsolete thanks to quantum stealth invisibility material. The plastic sheet material makes anything behind it almost completely invisible by bending the light around the target. It's not flawless yet. Algae can be used to fight climate change because it removes carbon dioxide from our atmosphere, stores it as biomass, and replaces it with oxygen. High in nutrients, vitamins, and proteins, microalgae could supplement diets to combat malnutrition, replace soy protein used in livestock feed, and thereby reduce associated deforestation, boost air quality through its carbon capture and oxygen production, and provide a cleaning medium for industrial wastewater. Algae is going to be proven better than trees, which used in conjunction with AI-powered bioreactors, is up to 400 times more efficient than a tree at removing CO2 from the atmosphere. Spin Launch, as the startup is called, wants to, as the name implies, spin projectiles using centrifugal force to drum up enough energy to send an object to space. The company plans to use a small rocket shaped like a razor-sharp ballpoint pen that encapsulates a satellite and tethers it to a motor at the center of a 300-foot wide vacuum-sealed chamber. The rocket would then exit a hatch and tear into the upper reaches of the atmosphere before an onboard rocket motor fires up to propel the vehicle to orbital velocities. There is one perfect material that can make all of our dreams come true. It is the thinnest and lightest material in the world, yet is roughly 300 times stronger than steel. It conducts electricity faster than copper and conducts better than a diamond. It is bendable, stretchable, transparent, and waterproof. It prevents corrosion and rusting. It is even biodegradable. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, it is derived from one of the most commonly found household items. Our hero's name is graphene. After all, graphene is nothing but a single sheet of carbon atoms. Layers and layers of these sheets of graphene stack up to create graphite. Yes, the same thing used in pencil lead. Scientists suggest engineers build soft-celled pods with fine-tuning settings for sweet hibernation. A quiet environment with low lights, low temperature, less than 10 degrees Celsius, and high humidity. The astronauts would move very little, but would not be restrained, and wear clothing that avoids overheating. How close are we to hibernation pods? At its closest, it's still 55 million kilometers away from the Earth, meaning that depending on just how fast you're traveling, it'd still take at least 5 months. But there might be a way to make the journey less taxing. Hibernation, an idea that has so far been limited to the realm of science fiction. Warp drives are theoretically possible, if still far-fetched technology. 2 recent papers made headlines in March when researchers claimed to have overcome one of the many challenges that stand between the theory of warp drives and reality. NASA is obviously still working out the kinks of their warp drive, but perhaps it's only a matter of time before at least neighboring star systems like Proxima Centauri will be in reach for human crews. Until then, we can only look at the furthest stars looking at our telescopes. In the near future, there will be fewer cars on the road. Congestion will ease and roads in general should become safer. This will make owning and running a car cheaper. It may even insurance premiums go down. Fewer cars and more space could mean a reimagining of city spaces with the rise in parks and community spaces. For a 62-mile non-stop trip, air taxi used led to 35% fewer greenhouse gas emissions compared to the gas-burning car. But compared to an electric car traveling the same distance, the air taxi had 28% more emissions. This scenario ignores passengers, however. Smart farming is an emerging concept that refers to managing farms using technologies like IoT, robotics, drones, and AI to increase the quantity and quality of products while optimizing the human labor required by production. Smart farming refers to managing farms using modern information and communication technologies to increase the quantity and quality of products while optimizing the human labor required. New farms will finally realize the eternal dream of mankind. It's to feed our population, which may explode to 9.6 billion by 2050. Exoskeletons, or wearable robotics, were a thing of fiction until very recently. Now they exist not just as prototypes, but in action, seeing service in heavy industries, physical rehabilitation, and other sectors. As more people realize the technology's benefits, exoskeletons could be a 4.5 billion industry by 2028. Exoskeletons designed to support the upper body redistribute weight from the arms and shoulders to other body parts, including the core and legs. This lessens strain and fatigue associated with overhead activities such as lifting, plastering, cutting, and drilling. Deepfakes potentially distort democratic discourse, manipulate elections, erode trust in institutions, jeopardize public safety and national security, damage reputations, and undermine journalism. Deepfakes are designed to bypass biometric authentication. Deepfakes are images and videos created using computers and machine learning software to make them seem real, even though they are not. Over the past few years, there have been several high-profile deepfake attacks resulting in stolen funds. E-bikes are encouraging people to cycle for longer. They are encouraging people over the age of 50 to get back on their bikes. And they are encouraging people to cycle to work and are therefore contributing to a more eco-friendly environment for all. Wider bridges, expanded highways, and electric cars aren't going to solve the issues of congestion, pollution, and climate change. It's very deep doo-doo, but the e-bike, it may just dig us out. As more people begin to travel to space, they will directly drive the creation of new emerging technologies. Many investors claim that this new tech will result in enormous benefits from humanity, including advancements in technological future innovation and scientific research. Space exploration cannot be seen as a waste of resources. It is at least a means of testing and refining upcoming technology that, in fact, provides the resources we need to improve our lives and those of future generations. More importantly than this, though, is the space exploration inspires us. It's a smart mirror that has random features like the ability to perform an eye test, which over time will track your vision. It acts as a fitness coach, tracks air quality, and uses AR to suggest different kinds of makeup. It can recognize different products and give you tutorials on how to use them. The mirror is also capable of gesture, object, and voice recognition to offer a touchless experience. The global smart mirror market has a value at $1.750 million and in 2017 and is projected to reach $4,118 million by 2025. A smart mirror, also known as a magic mirror, displays the time, weather, calendar, news, and social media update. Additionally, plant-based milk can lack important nutrients found in cow's milk. Typically, plant-based milk has to be fortified with vitamin D and calcium, otherwise they contain very little or none at all. Lab milk, however, is made to be as nutritionally identical to cow's milk as possible. A growing number of startups from Silicon Valley to Singapore are rapidly joining the race to create the first imitation cow's milk, based on artificially reproducing the proteins and curds and whey that are suitable for mass-market consumption. Scientists mention it will recreate dairy's authentic mouthfeel and temperature resistance, and constitute the perfect texture for vegan cheese, capable of melting just like the real thing. Starlink. This future of technology most likely stirs all kinds of Star Wars-y sentiments in your subconscious. But come back to Earth because this is not a sci-fi piece. Well, kind of. Starlink is, namely, the satellite Internet of Things, the brainchild of Tesla Motors and SpaceX juggernaut Elon Musk. Starlink, this best technology, will provide areas of the world heretofore disconnected from technology with the higher speeds seen in major cities of industrialized countries. This is most certainly a bright note for our planet's future. And with upgrades beginning this year, we should expect these future technology ideas to become a reality very soon. Edge computing is a distributed information technology architecture in which client data is processed at the periphery of the network, as close to the originating source as possible. In simplest terms, edge computing moves some portion of the storage and compute resources out of the central data center and closer to the source of the data itself. Only the result of the computing work at the edge, such as real-time business insights, equipment maintenance predictions, or other actionable answers, is sent back to the main data center for review and other human interactions. Self-healing concrete would be ideal for building underground containers for hazardous waste because no humans would have to go near it to require any occurring cracks. The Delft team is currently looking into improving the distribution of food sources from the bacteria and creating the right environment for it to produce as much crack-closing calcite as possible. Besides having an impact on public safety and construction, bioconcrete could also benefit the environment by reducing the quantity of concrete used around the world, which would help cut down on the material's massive carbon footprint. It is combining nature with construction materials. We need alternatives to fossil fuels. We all know that. As more and more people inhabit the planet and travel its roads, we have to look at long-term sustainable energy sources. Fuel cell technology goes beyond vehicles too. With an adapter in its trunk, the hydrogen fuel cell vehicle is capable of supplying enough energy to power home essentials in an average house for up to a week in an emergency. That's a zero-emission generator sitting right in the garage when we need it most. The right smart home features can make our lives more comfortable and convenient, create safety and peace of mind, and increase our overall feelings of well-being. For these reasons, it's no surprise most people believe moving into a smart home or making their existing home smarter will lead to a better life. Homes of the future will increasingly tap into neighborhood energy systems, feature flexible layouts, and use improved technology to make automatic decisions about heating, security, and even postal deliveries. The current form of lithium-ion batteries is not without its limitations. Perhaps that's why the companies, as well as consumers, are constantly in the pursuit of batteries that are safer and pack even more energy. Along with that, new uses of such batteries are also emerging. From electric vehicles to future power grids, demand for this emerging tech lithium-ion batteries is constantly on the rise. Thus comes in a lithium-air battery with a lithium metal anode and a vaporous oxygen cathode. Less expensive and lighter, the lithium-air battery could well be the future of its ion ancestor. 3D printing is an industry promising everything from cheap house building to affordable rugged armor. But one of the most interesting uses of the technology is the build of 3D printed bones. Using these 3D printed bones is surprisingly easy. A hospital can perform an MRI, which is then sent to ossiform, which creates a 3D model of the patient-specific implant that is needed. The surgeon accepts the design, and then once it is printed, it can be used in surgery. To achieve the best integration possible, the implants are of a porous structure and feature large pores and canals for cells to attach to and reform bone. The blockchain is a technology for storing and transmitting information, transparent, secure, decentralized, and operating without a central organ. In short, it's kind of a digital data management protocol, a large, secure, and transparent database. The blockchain can be seen as a kind of account book or register that contains a list of all exchanges made between users. The blockchain is often wrongly confused with Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency that uses the block to ensure traceability of transactions, since each Bitcoin has its own encryption code. Thus, a user can only use his Bitcoins with a single recipient corresponding to a single transaction. The future technology floating farm is exactly what it sounds like, a dairy farm floating on a platform in the Port of Rotterdam. The structure of these new inventions consists of 3 stories. The lowest level floats beneath the water's surface, creating a cool space for storage. The second level features the dairy production area. The floating farm's roof is designed to gather and filter rainwater for the cows to drink. And adjacent to the dairy farm float is a float consisting of solar panels, which provide ample natural energy to provide the entire dairy farm's production. GTP3 is a powerful autoregressive language model, which is a fancy name for an automatic content generation tool. It was built by feeding gigabytes of quality content into a machine learning model, which ended up creating over 175 billion internal connections between words to mimic a natural human language. These connections build up a digital representation of a brain that can then predict or create content based on just a few prompts. GPT-3 can create content to fit any purpose or any narrative, in mere seconds at a very low cost. After a little initial guidance on what to write, GPT-3 will give a conversation going based on what it's learned previously. There's huge uncertainty about when fusion power will be ready for commercialization. One estimate suggests maybe 20 years. Then fusion would need to scale up, which would mean a delay of perhaps another few decades. Fusion is among the most environmentally friendly sources of energy. There are no CO2 or other harmful atmospheric emissions from the fusion process, which means that fusion does not contribute to greenhouse gas emissions or global warming. Fusion is creeping inexorably forward, and we are getting closer and closer to achieving that once distant dream of commercial fusion power. Exoskeletons are one of the emerging future technologies, and the progress of these inventions must have rapidly. The exoskeleton market is projected to surpass $5 billion by 2030. The demand for semi-passive exosuits is driven by their increasing adoption in the healthcare sector. The market growth is credited with the growth cases of Parkinson's disease across the globe. Some researchers have created exoskeletons that adjust their torque to optimize users' running and a walking economy based on metabolic data. Such devices could help reduce repetitive strain injuries in workplaces or improve patient outcomes in physical therapy. On real-world paths and trails, the devices might allow us to run at least 10% faster than on our own. A slightly tweaked device likewise boosted the speed of young people while walking. What is the most important technology of the future? How these technologies will change our lives? Share your thoughts in the comment below. Like always, if you enjoyed it, be sure to give us a big thumbs up and leave us some love in the comment section. To keep up to date with all of our awesome videos, be sure to hit subscribe and turn your notifications on to never miss a thing. Until next time, do take care of yourself.